Good afternoon, everyone. We are the Blue Team, and the first thing that we're going to explain in our virtual tour is this analysis of this poem called Nature. This is one of Ralph Waldo Emerson's creation. He was a very famous author from the Transcendentalism movement. As a reminder, Transcendentalism focuses a lot in the nature and the importance of nature and in our personal growth because they saw that we are deeply connected with nature, and that is why, in order to find ourselves and trying and to reflect about us, we need to go to nature to find that. It's not about the material things that we can have, it's more about how you can just be free from all those things. Another representative writer of this movement is Henry Thoreau, who was also very influenced by Emerson. The analysis of the poem. First, the title. We first tried to predict what the title was going to show us about the poem before reading it and what we thought after reading it. So at the beginning, the first thoughts for us were that it's going to be about nature for sure, but we didn't know how. We thought that it would be like nature as a source of inspiration to create art. At the end, it was not. It's more of how nature can be, how art can be perceived through the things that you are, the things that are surrounding us, the things that are around us, and maybe we usually don't notice it. To paraphrase the meaning of this or the message of this poem is that all artists are dedicated to help people realize that the beauty of the surroundings. So it's not only going to the museum or not like it doesn't have to be something huge. You can find art in all the things. You can find art through nature. The connotation of the poem has different aspects: rhyme, figurative language, point of view, the imagery, and the structure. There is in rhyme in this poem. We have also figurative language, mostly metaphor, and he says, Emerson says, and I quote, "We are immersed in beauty, but our eyes have no clear vision." That statement is an example of the metaphor, and what he was actually saying is that there is beauty surrounding us in nature, but just because it's not right in our faces, we think that it doesn't exist. And that's not true, right? The point of view of this poem is a comparison between the world, or the earthly things, with art. The imagery found in this poem is the visual imagery, mostly because of the adjectives that we could find, trying to help us picture what he was referring to. And the structure is the quatrains because each stanza has four verses that rhyme together, or mostly rhyme between them. This is the poem. I'm not going to read it because that's going to take a long time, but there are some aspects that I would like to mention. For example, in the first stanza with the first two verses, you can see I have underlined the last two words because they are an example of our A-B rhyme because the first verse with the second verse rhyme together. The last word of the first verse is pants, and then we have romance. So we have the end rhyming there. Then in the second stanza we have street, and then we have sweet. Another example of end rhyme. There are other aspects that I would like to mention. For example, drudge. Drudge is a synonym of slave. Let's remember that slavery was still present in American society at that time. So they are mentioning as even even they were part of art. They were art too. Just like the airy kings, just like fathers shining in bright fables, just like children and lilacs, things, all those things were part of art, of what we could consider art. There are some words that you can see that they look different because they are examples of archaic words. They are not words that we are used to use now. For example, doth is an archaic or an old way to say does nowadays, right? And we have mourn. It's not the verb. The verb is actually mourning. As a reference of mourning, it's an archaic way of saying it or write it in this case. So yeah, those are some parts of the connotation of this poem. Also, another example of imagery is where it says, uh, let me see, we're talking about lilacs, they are flowers. We're talking about the moonlight, the gleaming piles of stone. All those adjectives and adverbs are referring to an image that you can do, like a visualization of what they are referring, or what Emerson was referring here. And then we have the attitude, shift, and theme. The attitude or tone of this poem is a personal, very personal, because Emerson intends to manifest the recognition of beauty through art, or in this case, art considered as everyday life. Then the shift, the whole poem is a constant shift of ideas because it goes from, ugly things to how you can find that beautiful, or to the present time and how past was better than this. And the theme of the poem is to appreciate art, even if we don't think that's art, maybe to pay attention a little bit more of the things that are around us can help us to find art and find nature and appreciate life in a different way. Thank you very much. Now my classmates are going to explain you something different. Now you can go to the other part of our virtual tour.